My name is Lona, and you might call me an old fool, but my intentions were honest, but the man I met was not. I first encountered this devil in September of 2020 while playing Scrabble GO on Facebook. I play a lot of games online and I'm on there daily. I'm 70 years young and have been on Facebook for 5 years or so, mostly to keep in touch with my family as I live in a retirement community in a different state than my kids and grandkids. Facebook has been a godsend and a nightmare during this COVID pandemic. I started playing Scrabble GO and struck up a conversation with a man named Randall. He said he was 25 years old and in the military. We played a few games and he asked if he could add me on Hangouts to chat. Now, I've heard of Hangouts and it was pre-installed on my phone, so I agreed because he said he was a soldier deployed and playing games in the barracks during his downtime. I knew military boys had their downtime. We exchanged information and I added him to Hangouts. I wasn't great with Hangouts and never really used it. One of those apps on my phone that just sat there unused. Randall told me he joined the military at 18 years old and was currently deployed to Afghanistan for peacekeeping. He said he was an only child and both his parents had died in a car crash when he was young. His uncle raised him in California, but that his uncle was a drunk, and as soon as he turned 18, he joined the military to get away from his uncle's abuse. He told me his girlfriend had left him when he was on deployment, and she cheated on him. I let him know I was a widow, and my husband died at age 60, 10 years ago, and I had remained a mourning widow, and he didn't quite understand that. Randall then asked me for pictures. I sent him a couple of me with my Red Hat Lady group, and he told me I was sexy and beautiful. I was taken back by this and told him, while his compliment was nice, I'm not looking for love and certainly not looking for love from a man in his 20s. I had a grandson a couple years younger than him. Randall then switched gears and asked if I would be his adopted mom. I wanted this sweet request. I thought it was nice, but I told him I would always be a friend for him if he needed anything. And I love all our troops, and I would be a motherly support for him if he needed to talk at any time. We chatted a bit about food, and he asked me if I ate. I told him my cooking is really good, and he said he was so starved for a good meal. He said the meals in the military were very bad. I can remember some former friends and relatives that were in the military, but it was 40, 50 years ago, and they never really complained about the meals, but maybe things had changed. We chit-chatted about every other day. He said he was busy peacekeeping and couldn't come on Hangouts all the time. I understood that, and I told him I was around anytime he needed to vent or just a talk, whatever he needed. He would show me photos of what he said was his base and some photos of himself in the barracks. They were photos of a young guy in military fatigues. I later found out were of a young man who has a popular Instagram profile who is in the Army as a paratrooper. About 3 weeks into our casual conversations, Randall shared with me that he felt very sad as the other soldiers were getting care boxes of food and things and he had nothing, as he had no one to send him anything. I felt bad for him and I asked him for his military mailing address. I told him I would put a package together with clean socks, underwear, some beef jerky, cookies, and goodies. I had done military care boxes for the first Gulf War, so I was all about supporting the troops when I could. Randall said he would let me know, and he logged off Hangouts. I thought it was odd, but then I reminded myself he's deployed, he's busy. A few days later, he came back online and told me that he had gotten into trouble with his commander for not following protocol during a gun battle with some terrorists. He said he had to rescue his fellow soldier but didn't follow military protocol, but saved his friend's life, as his friend had gotten a gunshot wound to his leg. He even showed me a photo of a soldier with a gunshot wound to the leg. I told him he's a hero, and maybe his commander will realize this once they investigate everything. Randall said he wasn't sure, but his privileges had been taken for receiving packages. He asked me if I still intended to send a package to him. I told him yes, of course, and showed him photos of some things that I had bought. He then asked me if I could send the package to a fellow soldier's wife in Georgia, and then she would sneak his things into the package for her husband so he could get his stuff. I told him that would be fine. Randall asked me all the things that I had bought. I listed them for him, and he asked if I would be willing to help him out with some more stuff. He asked me if I could get him a new phone, as his was nearly ready to break due to the shootout he had, and his phone was damaged. He showed me a picture of his so-called phone with a cracked screen with dirt all over it. I later found out it was a stock photo from an online phone repair website. He said he needed the new iPhone because military protocol, all soldiers have Apple iPhones due to their security features. He said he would pay me back for the phone when he came home in 8 months, and that his account was frozen until he returned. I was hesitant at first, but in my heart I wanted to help the troops. And I thought, here is this poor soldier without any family, and all the other soldiers were getting goodies and packages. I went out and got the newest iPhone. I actually put it on a payment plan and was paying installments on it. So I packaged up the phone, beef jerky, cookies, underwear, socks, and $30 worth of candy and other treats, and yes, he had asked for a $50 iTunes card into a box and mailed it to this so-called soldier's friend's wife in Georgia. He then asked me if I was interested in dating, as a general of his was single widow who was 65. He sent me a photo of him and wanted me to email him. I told him I was not interested in romance or romancing with any man. I've had my forever love, and when my husband died, my love and ability to love went with him. I did, however, remain chatty with Randall. Looking back, I know it was the same scammer who just had another profile and email address with different soldiers' photos. The photo that he sent me was stolen off a man named Carterham. Randall would message less and less, and the package I sent, I got a notification that it was delivered to the woman in Georgia. Randall would ask me for iTunes cards here and there, and I think I sent a total of 3 $50 ones to him in chat, and then the one $50 one that I put in the package. I started to question some things when he told me that the military was making them go into town in Afghanistan and buy their own food. They said they didn't have food in the barracks, and the army was punishing soldiers by starving them. He then asked me if I could wire $1,000 to the woman in Georgia so she can put the money on her husband's food account, and he would give it to him. I questioned this, as it sounds more like he was in prison than the military. That's how prison commissary works, but not the military. I asked him about that and questioned him, and he became very nasty with me. He called me names and asked if I was accusing him of being a scammer. I told him no, I just know the military doesn't starve their soldiers as punishment, that maybe that's something that happens in a third world country, but not for our U.S. troops. Randall became unhinged. He started calling me a liar and an old fool, and that there's nothing wrong with third world countries and that I'm an ignorant woman. I was shocked he spoke to me this way. I wanted his commander's name so I could report him, and he started yelling at me further, calling me all kinds of names, making threats to have special forces send them to my house and kill me, all sorts of crazy stuff. I ended up blocking him. I was so shaken by the whole situation, and as soon as I blocked him, I started getting requests from other men on Hangouts, soldiers. I got an email from the so-called Army Investigations Unit telling me that they're going to arrest me for speaking to a soldier in deployment, and that they intercepted my package and it contained drugs and stolen money. I never replied to it. I was over this whole thing. I marked it as spam. I did contact my local Army recruitment office, and I spoke to a recruiter about my situation. He let me know that it sounds like a scam. He informed me that many scammers overseas pretend to be military men, and he assured me that that's not how the military works, and I'm perfectly safe and have done nothing wrong. About 2 weeks later, I was going through my papers on my desk, and I found the woman's name in Georgia who I sent the package to. I did a little bit of Google detective work and found the woman's phone number online, as she lived in a small town in Georgia, and she was the only person in town with that name. I called the woman and explained the situation. She told me that she was talking to a man online named Barry Larner, who was in the Army and deployed. Barry had told her that I was a military agent sending a box, and that I was not to open it, but just place it inside a larger box and mail it via DHL to Accra, Ghana, to the military processing officer, as Barry was deployed to Ghana for peacekeeping, and I was apparently the agent sending his personal documents. This woman told me that she didn't have the money to ship the box as it was going to cost her around $300 to oversee it to Ghana. And Barry became angry with her. She said this Barry had another person mail her a printed check from Ohio, which was supposed to be deposited into the bank and use that money to mail the package. However, when she took the check to the bank, she found out it was a fake, so the package was still sitting in her house. I explained the entire situation to her, and we were both dumbfounded. We think it was one scammer playing different characters, and she said she spoke to Barry on the phone, and with a Ghana phone number. He sounded younger than what he was supposed to be, which was a general in his 50s. We came to the conclusion we are all victims of the same scammer, or maybe a scammer group. A few weeks after I spoke to her, I received my package back in the mail. She took my return address off the box I had mailed her, and I was able to return the iPhone, luckily, and get money credited back to my account. As for the rest of the stuff, I donated it to a local VA rehab, so my goods finally helped a real soldier and not some lying criminal. My grandson got the iTunes card that was in the box, and he was more than happy. It's a lesson learned, and I know women and men have lost so much more. It has left me scared to meet new people online, and it's been a nightmare with random people sending me emails and hangout messages, but I just block and move on. Thank you for listening to my encounter.